What is going on, everyone? Mitesh here, and today I want to talk to you guys about this right here. This is the Keychron K4. It is a wireless mechanical keyboard that I just picked up that is a 96% layout. So this right here is my first ever 96% keyboard, and I am super excited to talk to you guys about it because there are certain things about this keyboard that I really like, but certain things that I just can't stand. So let's just get into it. Okay, so let's start off by talking about the form factor here. So this right here is a 96% keyboard. So what that means is that you're getting almost everything that you would get on a full-size keyboard minus like a couple of keys that you really aren't gonna remember anyways, but you're getting almost all of the full-size keyboard that's just completely scrunched down into this little tiny form factor. In fact, if you compare it to a traditional full-size, if you compare it to a traditional full-size keyboard, you can just see how much smaller this keyboard actually is than a real full-size keyboard. In terms of like portability, this thing is way better than a full-size keyboard ever will be. And the other reason portability matters is the fact that this is a wireless keyboard that you can pair up to 3 different devices. So this can be synced up to your laptop, your desktop, your Android phone, your iOS phone, whatever you want, because this supports both Mac OS and Windows and Android and iOS. All the things you could ever want. So yeah, that's something that I really like about this, is the fact that it is able to connect to pretty much any device you could have as long as it has Bluetooth. This can connect up to it. It's also got USB-C, so you can always use this wired, and that's great. And it's also got a very large battery in here, so this thing will last you a really long time, even if you use the included RGB lighting, which is really great. Now, usually you can't get very many mechanical keyboards that work with Mac OS that also have RGB lighting, so this one is pretty special. Now, one of the reasons you may have heard of the Keychron brand is the fact that YouTubers especially like Keychron K2. A lot of them have been getting this as their first ever mechanical keyboard, and they've liked it because it supports Mac OS. And a lot of YouTubers use Final Cut for their video editing, so that makes sense. I don't, but I do use Mac OS for my work laptop, so this comes in real handy, especially the fact that they have a switch on the side that'll switch between Windows and Mac. So if you need to switch between the 2 operating systems, you can switch over really, really easily. So that is something that I really like about it. Like I said, RGB lighting, it's got like 15 different lighting effects. I'll throw some B-roll here so you guys can see it because it's really hard to see in bright lighting, but it looks really good. Lighting effects are really awesome, nice to see. They don't actually have any software to control it, but they've got plenty built in, so you won't have to worry about it. Another thing that you will like if you're on a Mac laptop is the fact that the function row has all the regular shortcuts that you're used to. So play, pause, volume control. It's got expose and the apps view and all that stuff. So that's really nice. You can also even control brightness on Mac laptops and iMacs and things like that. So that's really nice. Now, some of the things that I don't like about this is, for me personally, I don't love the 96% form factor. Now to give you guys a little background, I use this right here. This is a custom keyboard that I built. This is what's called a 75% layout. So it is very similar to the 96%, except it just doesn't have a numpad. And now, I'm not someone who really needs a numpad, so I may be the minority here, but if you're someone who needs a numpad, maybe this will make a lot of sense to you, but for me personally, since I don't need a numpad, it's just kind of wasted space. And not only is it wasted space, it gets in my way when I'm typing. So anytime I want to go for the arrow keys, I always hit the wrong button. So that is something that's been really annoying me with this keyboard since I've had it. It's just that every time I go for the arrow keys, which I do relatively often whenever I'm in terminal and things like that, I like to use the arrow keys, but every single time I always accidentally end up hitting the 1 key, and it just frustrates me every single time I was trying to use the keyboard. So that is something that if you're not used to this layout, it will take you a long time to get used to it. Some of you might be used to this, especially if you have like a 16-inch laptop that has a numpad like stuffed in there. It just feels sometimes a little crowded, but if you're used to it, it can work really well for you, especially if you're someone who really needs a numpad. Once again, I'm not that person, but if you need it, it's great to have. And another thing that I really don't love about this keyboard is, if you guys can take a look at this thing, the camera will focus, it is a very, very flat keyboard. So when you're typing on this on your desk, like your wrist have to raise up quite a bit to type on this thing because it's just a very flat keyboard, and it's also a really tall keyboard. So without a wrist rest, this keyboard is actually really uncomfortable to use. So definitely with this keyboard, you will need a wrist rest of some sort, and it can incline, which will give you an even steeper angle, and it will be even more painful on your wrist. But I do recommend using it at an incline angle, but just having a wrist rest so you can lay your wrist on something. Otherwise, this thing will really hurt your wrist after a few minutes of using it. So yeah, Lot to like on this keyboard. Also, in terms of build construction, so this is said to be like an aluminum frame case, and that is actually really accurate. So the sides here, the sides are all aluminum, but the back is actually all plastic. So it's not a fully aluminum keyboard like you'll get with some higher end ones, but in terms of build quality, it is actually really good build quality. There's no flex to this whatsoever. It works really well. I've had zero issues with using this thing since I've gotten it, and yeah, overall, really good build quality. One thing that I don't particularly love is the fact that they have the USB-C port on the side. So if you do want to use this wired, the wire is going to come in from the left side instead of the middle back, which is where I'm used to it, or the side back, whatever it is. So that is a little bit of an annoyance, especially if your computer is on the right side and you got to have the cable that goes all the way over to it instead of just having one that goes from the back. So minor annoyance, but it is there. The wireless functionality works really well. I've used it with multiple devices, works with my Android devices, very little lag that I can see. I haven't used it for gaming too much, but I can't imagine it's that bad for gaming. But definitely, you can always use it wired if you guys are worried about input lag or input latency or anything like that. Oh yeah, another thing that I really like about this keyboard is the fact that you have plenty of option for switches. So I have Gateron Browns on here, but you have option of Cherry MX switches, browns, blues, reds. They even have some more exotic options like black switches if you guys are into those. I would personally recommend the Gateron Browns or the Cherry MX Browns. I find those to be really good. Now, one thing I will of course give you is a typing test, so you guys can check that out right here. I do find that most of the keys, most of the stabilizers are actually really well lubed, except in my particular unit, the backspace key is a little bit rattly, so that is something that I don't love. I can get used to it over time, but it is something that if you're someone who's really into mechanical keyboards and you want to try this out, this is not going to be for you. You're going to have to take this apart and lube that stabilizer if you want. But otherwise, for most people, I don't think you'll notice it. I think it's going to be fine. In terms of pre-builds, this is actually a really, really well built keyboard. Overall, I think that if you're someone who falls into the niche of needing a wireless mechanical keyboard that wants a numpad, that wants support for Mac OS, this is a really great option. If you don't want the numpad, however, I really, really would recommend going for the Keychron K2. The only reason I ended up with this one actually was one, I really wanted to try the 96% form factor, and two, the K2 was out of stock because COVID-19 has killed pretty much all the stock on Amazon. I will have this linked in the description below where you guys can check out this keyboard right here and the K2 and some of the other ones that I would recommend getting if you guys really need a full-size keyboard. I'll have some that I recommend down below. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Like this one if you liked it, subscribe if you guys loved it, and let me know down in the comments below if you guys have used a mechanical keyboard, and if there's one that you guys would recommend, let me know down in the comments below. But with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.